Brahmananda Parama Sukhadam Kevala Jnanamurti Dandvatita Gagana Sadrisham Tatvama Sayadi Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimala Achala Sarvadi Sakshi Bhuta Bhavatikam Triguna Gaitam Sadguru Tam Namami Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great gurus, preceptors, saints and sages, teachers of all religions, I humbly bow to you all. Thank you for raising the vibration of this class. Thank you for connecting us to God. Om Shanti.
Urmi, I can't hear you.
How come? What about the others?
Yeah, your voice is a little dim.
Oh my God. One more. My mic is on.
Now it's good.
Right. Let me just put on. Yeah, so I think we had completed one chapter, and this is page 247. So it's titled The True Yoga. The Blessed Lord said, the true renunciate and the true yogi are those who perform dutiful actions without desire for their fruits, not those who, making no self-offering, act with ego motivation, nor those who, in the name of renunciation, abstain from action. So basically in this chapter, Krishna is saying who is the, who is the true devotee or the true yogi, and he says that it doesn't matter whether you are a householder or you are a renunciate sitting in a cave. The point is to be able to offer yourself without an expectation of return. Okay, so Nishkam karma is what is required. So what is the difference between, karma and kriya? Karma means action where you are hoping for a return. It is ego motivated action. And kriya is totally an action which is offered to God as self-offering without looking for a return. So when we do, Kriya Yoga, when we do the practices, certainly it is an action, but it is an action of self-offering without expecting anything in return. We are simply offering our energies, our devotion, our gratitude, our surrender to the Supreme. So if that is how we can keep all our actions, then we are no different from anyone who is a renunciate who is sitting in the caves. In fact, among the renunciates also, there are people, they may call themselves renunciate, but they may be using spirituality as an escape from the world. So then that kind of offering is completely ego motivated, that I would rather sit in some monastery, get my needs taken care of. I don't want to go around and earn my living and bring up kids and, get enmeshed in all these responsibilities. So I declare myself a sannyasi and I go off. But that is equally prone to getting a lot of karma, because whatever you are doing is ego motivated. And some householders, they have no idea of the spiritual path. They are not interested as of yet in their journey, and so whatever they are doing in the interests of the ego, and they don't make any self offering, right? So much of what Krishna says here, he has said before. Here, however, his message is broader. He is re-emphasizing that the essence of the spiritual life is ego transcendence, whether one lives in the world, in a monastery, or solitarily in a cave. Okay, so if we are unable to transcend the ego, then we cannot really merge with source. What are we doing in the world of Maya, which is the world of duality, black and white, good and bad, all those things? It is because we have the ego, first of all, that we are encased in a body. We are meant to experience these two extremes in the world of duality and gradually stop reacting. When we begin to understand that everything is just as it is neither good nor bad. It is our ego self which labels things, which judges things. So over time, the soul develops to a point where it realizes that this is all a delusion. This is Maya, this world of duality. It is there for us to have certain experiences and to learn through those experiences about our own God self, about our true nature. And when we learn that, we stop getting deluded anymore in this world of Maya, and we become completely neutral to the world. We stop judging, right? Like I keep saying now, when to an ascended master, a very, very advanced disciple and a murderer are the same. They will get the same love from a person like Yogananda, because there is no judgment. There is the understanding that we are all parts of God, and finally we will merge in him. So when the judgment drops, then our involvement with the world of duality starts to go down, and then our ego starts to dissolve. So of course this happens over lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And as I keep saying that it is a certain amount of ego is necessary for us to even be in the world and to move towards God, because the ego propels that desire towards God. That is the positive ego. That is the positive part of us, which we do need till the end of our days on earth to be able to actually keep moving forward. Because in any case, without the ego, the body will drop and we will dissolve. Okay. So the main goal, essence of spiritual life is ego transcendence. And whether I am sitting in the world doing my duty, or I am a monk in a monastery, or I am sitting alone in a cave, it does not matter at all. As long as I still am holding on to the ego and I'm still enmeshed. See, even if I'm sitting in a cave, I may not have the outer distractions that a worldly person has, but I have my inner demons to fight. Who is going to fight those? So getting out of that may be easier for someone sitting in a cave because that unnecessary outward distractions are not there. But nonetheless, just by sitting in a cave or sitting in a monastery does not guarantee that you have got over the ego. Okay. Krishna has already stated that action, whether outward or inward, is essential for the aspirant. As I have explained before, we come here with a contract that we will engage in action, because only with action will come experience. And with experience will come learning. And with learning will come soul growth. So the very fact that we have come into this world means that we are compelled to act. There is no such thing as inaction unless you are in Nirvikalpa Samadhi or something, where you do the actionless action. Even if you are acting, you are completely neutral. You are coming from source. So it is essential to act, right? One who has transcended the need for outward activity can do so only in a state of physical breathlessness. So a person who has transcended the need for outward activity and has done meditation, state of physical breathlessness means what? Being in a state of meditation, absolutely connected to source, where you are no longer breathing, okay? For in that state alone can one dynamically work with the subtle inner energies. It is only when you are deep in meditation, then you understand. What do we say in meditation? Go behind the breath, sense the energy movement up and down the spine. And again, what do we say? Notice the gaps in between your breaths. That is where true meditation takes place. Somebody who is continuously in that state, that is the person you can now proceed very, very fast towards God or towards source. Now they can start working with the energies, and from the physical, they move to the astral, to the causal, and then merge with source. Until that point, whether he is a sannyasi or is obliged to live an ordinary life among worldly people, his essential need is for some kind of ego-freeing activity. So why do we say do Kriya meditation? Because it's an ego-freeing activity. Why is seva or service a very big part of our path? That is because it helps us to rise above the ego. So seva is when you are doing something without desire for return. It is not a transaction. It is just an offering of yourself to source or back to the world. You know, when they say giving back to the world, what does that mean? That's seva actually. So those things are ego transcending activities, ego freeing activity. The fact that a person lives an ordinary life, sorry, and has a normal job may make ego renunciation more difficult, but it does not make it less obligatory. Both sannyasi and sansari must achieve the same results with or without formal renunciation. The spiritual path is not a matter of scoring points in the game of pleasing God. The inner need of every human being, if he would unite himself with the infinite, is the same. So, all of us, whether we have formally renounced the world or we are still leading our worldly lives, it is if we say that I want to, connect to God, then we have to start transcending the ego. Let us consider the differences between being a yogi renunciate and a yogi samsari, one who must contribute to the outward play of Maya. So, what is the difference between someone who has renounced the world and someone who is still in the world? Both are yogis. It should be said at the outset that the sansari need not play his part with ego attachment. It is indeed pleasing to God and a great help to spiritual advancement for one to participate in the divine play without ego attachment instead of scorning to involve oneself in it. So, if we are in the world, the best way to start behaving or acting, if we are really sincere about connecting with God or to our real self, if then we have to be in this world yet not of it. That's what Christ said, be in the world but not of it. So basically meaning that be detached, do not get entangled. Sure, you may have a family, you may be married, you may have kids, you may have a job, you may be doing everything that everyone else is doing around you. But somewhere you should always be conscious of the ultimate truth that we are here, our only purpose for being in this world is to grow spiritually. Not many people really understand that. So they think that we are here to, come, get born, get an education, get a job, get married, get kids, retire and die. They think that is my purpose. But our real purpose is to evolve spiritually. The only purpose, the only reason why we are in the world. So whatever we do should be aimed towards that, whatever activity we are doing, even if I'm sweeping the streets, okay, I have to do it with a sense of detachment, with a sense of knowing that I am just playing a role for a very brief moment in this world. And I have come countless times in many, many bodies working out through experiences, spiritual learnings to finally merge with source. So even a householder should remember this. So once we know that and we are people who are operating from that consciousness, we really don't get upset about anything that happens in our lives. We are absolutely stable. We live in the world like a yogi. There are no emotional ups and downs, crazy stuff going on. One day I'm depressed, next day I'm elated, next day I'm angry, the other day I feel like, killing everybody else. None of that. So a yogi is like a wave that hugs the sea, right? There are no huge peaks and troughs of storms in the sea of life. They will simply hug the sea, stay close to the source where there is minimum disturbance, right? Internally or externally. So if we can, even being in sansar, if we can remain detached, Instead of saying, I'll go sit in a cave, this is all nonsense, this is not my life, we don't need to scorn it, but we do need to understand the true nature of Maya, okay? And instead of scorning to involve oneself in it, this world was, after all, made by God. He himself finds joy in his handiwork. Otherwise, wouldn't he have learnt long ago not to create universes at all? An expansive spirit is a natural part of the creative process and is therefore intrinsic to the ever newness of divine bliss. So how does Master translate Satchidananda? He translates that as ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. So God is constantly creating the universe and everything in it. So it's an always in a state of creation. It is not static, it is ever new, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. So the creative process, an expansive spirit is a natural part of the creative process and is therefore intrinsic to the ever newness of divine bliss. The key word for participation in samsara then is to play one's part with conscious non-identification with the ego. So if we can manage to do that, we will be very calm people, very, very focused people, extremely strong people who don't get, waylaid by the stuff that is happening to them or around them, because they know that everything that is coming at them is actually a life lesson. So whenever something horrible or even something good happens to them, what do they ask? What am I supposed to learn from this? Why is this happening in my life at this time? So when we live with conscious non-identification with the ego, we are identified with source qualities. We are not identified with ego. Even if we say feel angry or feel sad or depressed, somewhere we are detached enough to know that this is not me. The real me is Satchidananda. The real me is God. It has the soul qualities of peace and bliss and enlightenment. So I don't need to get unduly disturbed. Of course, I will deal with whatever is happening in the world, whatever is coming at me, but I will deal with it in a very non-attached way. So many times people say, gosh, then on the spiritual path, I will become so cold and I will become indifferent and I will get bored, right? They may say that if I'm not getting angry or if I'm not getting elated or if I'm never sad and if I'm never bored, then how boring am I in that sense? So the point is that it is only when we get over the ups and downs and we can see beyond the veil of Maya, that's when you become a very, very interesting person. You become extremely strong, you become extremely intuitive, you become extremely intelligent, you become extremely capable. Actually, you become less and less boring because so much opens up to you. You go beyond the petty day-to-day nonsense that is going on all the time. Then you can actually tap source. You can be very creative. You can actually manifest stuff, but always with the feeling that if I am going to manifest anything or if I'm going to create anything, it is not to serve my ego, it is to raise the vibratory frequency of the world. That is when masters come, great teachers will come. Why? Because they have moved beyond the personal life, as it were, and they are now into the uh, energy of transforming their fellow human beings, right? So they are conscious. These kind of people live with conscious non-identification with the ego. Okay, so why do we keep saying that, chant Hong Saw? What does that mean? I am he. Every day, 2 times a day, you are reminding every cell of your body that I am he. You are connecting to source, that I am not this temporary body in which I am at the moment. I am he. Okay. The scriptures say that God created the universe in order that he might enjoy himself through many. So God has created the universe just for enjoyment, just to understand his true nature through experiencing what is not his true nature. That is that good and bad and evil. God is neutral. So Paramahansa Yogananda has a very interesting quote. He says that our job is only to entertain and to be entertained. So not to take the world too seriously. See it as a game. We are here to play that game, play it with 100% commitment, but remember it is a game. Play it well and move on. So that is our only job. Actually, our only job is to remain happy, but we can't because we are so caught up in ego. We are so caught up in fear that, that takes hold of us and we create more and more karma and we move further and further away from source. So it is after many, many incarnations that we finally realize that, what, this is not working. I'm tired of the drama. I think I am going to start moving towards ego transcendence. And even then, when you are on the spiritual path, it is a very dangerous path. At any moment, till you are consistently, constantly connected to source, till you are always in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you have 100% chance of again committing an egoic error and spiraling from the heights of spiritual attainment. And so over lifetimes, you may have kept going back and forth. You are moving forward 2 steps and then you have gone 10 steps back. Again, you're moving forward. Again, you can spiral. And this spiral can last several lifetimes because of a spiritual mistake, because of a spiritual misjudgment, because of getting caught up in ego one more time. Certainly, the Lord does not enjoy the fact that his creatures suffer. His enjoyment then must come outwardly from seeing every story come to a happy ending at last, as his human creatures, one by one, attain final release from all ego limitation in infinite bliss. He wants us to merge back eventually into his ocean of Satchidananda. So though God has created, God meaning what? Meaning source of which we are a part. So actually there is only one energy. There's no difference between you, me, everybody in this class. We are actually part of one energy, just projected into the world so that that one energy can enjoy himself through many. And so these many parts, after going through all manner of drama and rigmarole and all that, finally merge back into Satchidananda. And then those parts may come back, need not. It is completely, a voluntary thing, a free will thing that ascended masters like Yogananda, all this line of gurus, they choose to come back as avatars so that they can help to raise mass consciousness. Those few in every age who attain that goal, however, which is Satchidananda or Nirvikalpa Samadhi, those few in every age who attain that goal, however, and who want also to continue helping the struggling mortals among whom they once were counted, are certainly pleasing to him in a very special way. The philosophical question, which is greater, doesn't arise since all are equally great in God. So, whether to come back or to remain merged in Satchidananda, there is no judgment. You can come back if you want. You may remain there if you don't. Which is greater doesn't arise since all are equally great in God. Certainly, however, his manifested creatures must be grateful for the fact that a few liberated souls, that is the ascended masters, a few liberated souls feeling this commitment actually come back to help them, right? It is supremely ironic that these few souls, even outstandingly among mankind, so often attract the fiercest persecution during their earthly service to mankind. Why do ascended masters attract the fiercest persecution? Because it is the nature of 3D existence that the more light you carry, the more darkness will come. The brighter the light, the tests are harder. As you move up the spiritual path, all manner of things will come at you to test your mettle. You will have weird, dark stuff happening to you. Now, to remain strong through that, if you read books of Aurobindo and the Mother and also Master, many saints, they have actually described when the darkness attacks them at a certain point. In Sri Aurobindo's Mother, she writes that she's lying down at night. She actually felt demons jumping onto her chest, like sitting like this. Because the more you are moving towards light, the polarity is getting sharper and sharper. So the more darkness will come to try and pull you back into Maya again. The hold of Maya is very strong, and you have to remain strong in that and keep moving forward. So that's why I say the spiritual path is the most challenging thing you will ever take up in your life. It is not meant for cowards. It is not meant for weak people. It is meant for the very, very strong to remain there and to face those tests and to still keep evolving, still keep going, okay, growing. So they often attract the fiercest persecution during their earthly service to mankind. So the ego pull is going to come up in the form of all these people who try and stone saints, who crucify saints like Jesus Christ was crucified. That is the ego fear. Gosh, that I think I am separate. I think, I am cocooned in my fear. Who is this person coming and telling me there is no fear and we are all one? No, 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 we are not all one at all. We cannot love our neighbors. We want to kill our neighbors. So these are people deep in ego, right? They cannot understand concepts like unconditional love or that everyone is one. No, what do you mean? I am rich, I'm better than the poor. Or I am from this religion, I am better than that. So those things are ego things, right? Inwardly, they are untouched by the way others treat them, for they are above the ego. So what does Jesus Christ say in the cross? Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. So when he is being crucified, because he is conscious that these are souls who have not realized who I am or who they are. They are killing me out of their fear. They don't understand the light. And so they are crucifying me. And so he says, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. Inwardly, they are untouched by whatever is happening to them, because they are above the ego. But how pitiable it is that so many human beings should, in this way, bite the hand that feeds them. The tragedy is not theirs who receive persecution, but mankind's, that man should again and again be offered divine love, yet should spurn it so contemptuously in preference to its own ego degradation. So Swamiji is saying that, we should not pity the person who's being crucified. We should pity the person who is crucifying. So many times the masters come and they are offering divine love. They are offering unconditional love. But it really threatens the ego. It really threatens all those defense walls. We want to crawl back to our dark holes. We want to remain with our fears. No, 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 I was beaten up or abused in my childhood. So now I will have to hate all adults. That is the ego holding on, refusing to understand and perpetuating the misery, okay, instead of opening up, going beyond the defense walls, dropping the mask, and finally realizing I am he. Right? So the person that is to be pitied is not the person who is crucified, but the people who are crucified. All this is a part of the divine plot, with its myriad subplots, red herrings, and intricate distractions from the one true theme. So all this, they say, is Leela. It is the Lord's playground. All these things that people are persecuting, there is black, there is white, there's happiness, there is unhappiness. All these dramas are just an intricate tapestry which is woven for us to learn. Okay, because without experience and without somehow, getting hard knocks in life, we don't even want to learn. We are too comfortable. We are too complacent. We just want to sit where we are and enjoy ourselves. And it is only when deep sorrow or, horrible, so-called horrible things happen, then we start waking up and then we run to the spiritual path. Okay. So these are intricate distractions from the one true theme, which is self-realization. The essential difference between the joyful actor in the play of samsara and the hermit who disdains to participate in the play at all is superficial. Both types of sadhakas or truth seekers offer themselves up to God to let Him do with them as He wills. So who is a joyful actor in samsara? A person or a true, renunciate or yogi is a person who has realized God, who has had certain experiences, you see, and therefore they know that I can happily surrender. Surrender is a very, very, very deep word. What does it mean? That I can remain unaffected through my life, knowing that the divine has my back. And whatever happens to me is always for me, is always for my highest good. It may sound, somebody will say, I'm suffering with cancer and it's really painful. And how do I believe in God? Right. So to understand, to have such a expanded consciousness as to understand that over lifetimes, I only, this soul has made mistakes on the spiritual path and has not released those mistakes. Karma can only leave through the physical body. So in this lifetime, a terrible disease has a so-called disease. It's energy block, which is causing the cancer. And the suffering, I can choose whether I want to suffer or not, even if I have cancer. if I am a person who, who lives with conscious non-identification with the ego, I can rise above the pain, the physical body's pain, and I can say, I can take the witness position and I can say the body is suffering. I am not suffering because I am He. The body is suffering because it needs to release karmic baggage. Right, I keep saying the story of Sri Ramakrishna. He died, he had throat cancer. So his disciples came, and one disciple is saying, Master, you must be really, it must be terrible, it must be very painful. And Ramakrishna is saying, yes, yes, it is terrible, I can't eat and all that. Then suddenly the devotee looks into his eyes and he sees the eyes are completely happy, not non-suffering at all. So he tells Ramakrishna that, no, but you're not suffering. So Ramakrishna laughs and he says, you have caught me. You get it? Because they are above it. There is no ego. He's picked up some disciple's karma and out of compassion, he is releasing it through his body, or he is releasing some past karma of his, maybe 100 lifetimes ago, and he is perfectly aware of it. He is not suffering, but he's playing the game to the hilt and he's telling people, yeah, it's really painful, I can't swallow and all this. But when the disciple caught his expression in the eyes, then he understood that he's not suffering at all. And so Ramakrishna says, you've got me out, right? So both types of sadhakas, the joyful actor in the world and the hermit who is sitting, who does not participate in the world, both of them offer themselves up to God to let him do what he do with them as he wills. It means that they are in complete surrender. They have no such thing as worry. They go with the flow, knowing that whatever is coming at them is something that they need to undergo, and that it is for their ultimate good. So they don't struggle against it. What happens? Why do we suffer in this world? Because we resist what is. If we are able to accept what is, you will see you will never feel unhappy and you will move smoothly through life. This is how it is. Complete acceptance and surrender, right? It is the ego which starts resisting and says, that person is so happy, why am I like this? That person has so much money, or that person is doing these things, why am I not doing these things? These are resistances which will stop your spiritual growth. You have to keep doing what you are doing with 100% attention and involvement, but not get entangled. Very, very difficult, of course. But even if we understand it theoretically good enough, maybe we will move towards actually experientially being able to live it, right? The path of marriage, job, and involvement with family has certain obvious disadvantages, which makes spiritual progress more of a challenge outwardly. A nagging wife or domineering husband, obstreperous children, demanding relatives who think blood ties entitle them to meddle in a person's life, whether out of family attachment or out of concern for their own reputations. All of these can create powerful obstructions on the spiritual path. So obviously, the more the outward involvement, the more the outward entanglements, the more the chances of being drawn out of yourself, out into the world. So you see, everyone is celebrating Diwali. It's social, it's outward. So nobody is coming to Kriya class, nobody is coming to Gita class. It's the pull. There's so many relatives are there, so much buying to do, so many places to go to. So I don't have time for myself to connect inside, right? So all of these can create powerful obstructions on the spiritual path. So then Swamiji tells a story. Sadashiva, a great sadhu in southern India, lived as a young man with his parents, meditating in his room and earnestly studying the scriptures. One day he emerged from his room to find a commotion in the home. What is happening? He inquired. We are preparing, his parents told him, for the arrival of your intended bride. Sadasiva, on returning to his room, reflected, if my bride's merely prospective arrival can create such a disturbance, what effect can my daily routine, what effect on my daily routine will her actual arrival have? Quietly that very night, he slipped out the back door and left the neighborhood never to return. So he said, my God, just the thought of the bride is like creating craziness. What will happen if I really get married? So he renounces that because he is completely sure that he has come to this world, at least to this life, to grow spiritually, right? So in Autobiography of a Yogi also, the master was told, you will get married 3 times. So he took destiny in his own hand. He said, no, 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 I am not getting into that at all, right? I know very well why I am here. And forget the astrological predictions. This is not going to happen. And it didn't. They did try though, but it didn't. Right. Considering the danger of ego involvement for anyone who accepts the role of wife or husband, parent, dutiful member of a close or extended family, and his need to support himself and others by taking a job or by creating and selling for profit, all these factors certainly help to explain why anyone whose heart is filled with divine fervor would want to live away from it all in woods or cave, or even in a populous ashram or monastery where at least there are other dedicated souls. Okay. But, you know, even if we live in this distracting everyday world, we have to be able to understand that every person, every family member, every friend, every boss or employee or whatever who comes into our lives, it is not a coincidence. Everyone has a soul contract, otherwise they wouldn't be in your life. There is something you have to teach them and something they have to teach you. So even in the worldly life, it is because I have karmic lessons to learn. I am among all these people because I'm supposed to learn something from each one of them, from every situation that I encounter. If I don't understand the spiritual lesson, I will not grow spiritually. I may land up in a cave in some lifetime when I have come down with the sole purpose that I am not going to release karmic bonds with other people in this life. In this life, I will only go inwards and evolve my own self. In the next life, I may come back and go into worldly life. You never know, right? But if in this life, I say I have released a lot, I've learned all my karmic lessons, I don't really have the need of a family. I don't have the need for children or, you know, all these co-workers, whatever. I don't have those lessons to learn. Then I might sit in a cave and then I might work with my own dark and light shadows. Then I may try to neutralize it internally. And in that lifetime, if I become a Jivan Mukta, what is a Jivan Mukta? Who is freed while living, right? I may become free, but I may have some past karmas which I may still have to work out, but I am a free person. I may come back in next lifetimes, but I will never get involved. I will simply work through those with complete detachment and work it out totally and merge with Satchidananda. Okay. Paramhansa Yogananda said, those who marry as a necessity will have to be born again, that they may learn to live for God's love alone. So here you have a need for companionship. You have a need for many, because you are kind of codependent still. You are not able to be independent on your own. Very difficult. Okay. So he's saying that actually we only need to connect to God. We don't need family. We don't need anything. It is only because we have created these karmas over lifetime that now we have to keep coming back and clearing it. So those who marry as a necessity will have to be born again, that they may learn to live for God's love alone. At the same time, it must be said that many of my Guru's own most advanced disciples either were or had been married. The important thing for everyone is to reach that point, whether late or soon in life, where he wants only God. Okay, you may happen to be married, but you have to reach that point that I only live for God. My guru told me that one disciple of his, an old woman in her 80s, had been an atheist all her life. On meeting him, however, she was converted to the spiritual life. So intensely did she seek God thereafter that, as he said to me, she found freedom in this life. So even if you come to the spiritual path at age 80, if the desire, see, all this while this woman has not believed in God, God doesn't exist only, she's an atheist. Now she has met Master and she has got converted into the spiritual path, and possibly, past lifetimes of karma where she has progressed. Any progress we make on the spiritual path is always kept as your spiritual bank balance. It doesn't go away lifetime after lifetime. So she may have connected to that bank balance and she became free in this life, even though she came to the spiritual path only at age 80. So intensely did she see God thereafter. So remember that story where I said that there's a disciple who's asking the master that, Master, when will I know God? So the master takes him by the scruff of his neck and dunks him in the water and holds his head under water till he gasps for air and he's struggling. And then the guru brings him out, says, you will see God only when you desire him as intensely as you back in for God, which again, as I keep saying, you need the ego even to have that kind of desire. But finally, you will drop that at the merging, right? So that intensity will take you towards God. The desire for a companion has deep roots in human nature. It takes many incarnations to understand that the companion one seeks has always been God himself. So I have explained before, right, that human love can be transcended to divine love. So if this is the vibration of love, within the vibration of love, there are many frequencies. And through human love, we are learning to move up, right? The nature of love may be very, abusive, maybe codependent, maybe jealous, maybe whatever. Finally, as it rises in frequency, higher and higher frequency, that love becomes compassionate, it becomes unconditional. And through that unconditional love, we may actually understand the true nature of divine love. So even human love is important for us to understand that emotion. Now, pump it up to 1,000 octaves higher and that will become divine love, right? Ultimately, you realize, oh, through all these, loves that I have, through my love for my child, through the love for my mate, to actually, what am I seeking? I am seeking myself, to connect to myself. That is source. And that is divine love. Okay, so suddenly the person at a certain point, when you attain samadhi, you realize, oh, this is what has been missing. What I have been looking for is connection to myself, which is God, right? So this is self-realization, this is self-love, this is, understanding the true nature of love. The Lord is our supreme friend, our only eternally faithful lover, our ever forgiving mother, our firm but forever accepting father. So we have that hymn, na? God is the lover, God is the mother, God is the father. Everything you can, you can connect to God any which way that you want to. You may connect to God as your lover, you may connect to God as your father, you may connect to God as the divine mother, right? So he is, as my guru put it, the nearest of the near, the dearest of the dear. He is closer to you than your very thoughts. So I will end today. This is 5 plus past 5. Okay. So we continue next week. But understanding the true nature of divine love, maybe in your meditation, you would like to just place that intention that I want to understand the true nature. You can have quite amazing shifts to understand that, okay? So let's end with a prayer. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing power in all bodies, minds, and souls. So rub your hands together and chant Om with me 3 times. Send out the vibrations to the world. Om. 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 Shanti, Shanti. So see you next week.